Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Richard,
And I'm Kristen.
and welcome to What the Bow. Tonight we're gonna be talking about this new term I heard. It's funny enough, I was on my app called Taco, and there's this guy who's asking a question and he was asking like, "Hey, what do you think of the Great Resignation?"
Great Resignation. What is that?
Well, I didn't know it at first until I kind of like dug more deeper into that, and I guess this is like a term that's used now during after the pandemic. So like people, I guess, are quitting, retiring, just leaving their jobs.
Is it because it's better money from the government if you're unemployed?
Well, I don't know. Like, well, okay, there's a lot of people who out there are kind of like scamming the system. You know what I mean? If that's the right term.
Are they taking advantage of it?
There we go. Yeah, like they're just taking advantage of it, and some people are just I don't know. They're taking advantage of it. I was one day I was listening on the news. They're saying like, hey, yeah, we have more jobs available than more people applying for the job,
That's people that don't want to work.
and they're taking it for it. And, it's a hit in the economy, and so it's a little bit unfortunate. But I mean, like look at just like a recent year with our school. I mean, we lost what a good handful of teachers. Do we now?
We did, unfortunately.
We lost a good handful of teachers. I mean, there were some good teachers, and it's unfortunate. Even our sister school lost a few people. People were just leaving. And I think it was just the stress of virtual school.
The whole pandemic in general, I mean, kind of threw us for a loop.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's great now. I guess that we have, we're not doing virtual school anymore for the most part. But it's just, I think still, I think there's still some complications that are behind the scenes. And it's not really talking about the mask mandate or anything like that, but it was just there are still some complications. You're readjusting to a room that we had like of just I don't know, maybe virtual. We didn't have to like make things hand by hand, and now we're going back to the copiers a little bit more. We're still digitizing some of our work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I I don't know if I've explained that right.
I got this picture the other day from a coworker, and it said that the last time that a student had been in a normal classroom, not even including this year, this isn't really normal still, but the last time that we were basically pre-COVID, my fifth graders were in a second grade classroom.
Oh,
So they have
jeez.
almost a second grade mindset of how to act in a classroom in a normal setting.
So they're 2 years behind.
Not that, it's just their view of how the class should act, their maturity level within a classroom setting. Some of them just are still stuck on a second grade level
Mindset.
of that. Yeah.
Wow. So wow, it's like my seventh graders. So like my seventh graders would be like fifth graders then, if it listen right.
No, they would be fourth graders.
My seventh graders.
Yeah, because fifth, fourth, third, second is 3 years. So seventh, sixth, fifth, fourth would be 3 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't see it, but I take it back. There's the worth ethic, I believe, are in that category. The mindset's not there though, but definitely the work ethic is there. The work ethic of a fourth grader, where it's kind of like I expected to kind of be like more babied.
Well, I
I,
mean, think about it. In your seventh grade class right now, I had them in fifth grade. And that is when COVID actually hit. So they never got the full extent of a full entire fifth grade year.
right.
And they never even got really a real sixth grade year because half the kids were virtual. And now that they're all completely back in class, they're getting used to trying to be in a fifth grade, sixth grade mindset, but they can't do that because it's not what they have been given an opportunity to work through in a normal type of scenario.
Like a normal environment.
Right. Like
Yeah.
there's either been kids
Well, I
online
mean that's crazy. Well, we're talking about,
or
yeah, like
whatever.
we're talking about like kids going online, and we're like I was just saying, like even in New York State, my cousins or nieces were like, well, they were in school for one day, and then the day after they're online, and then the day after they're back in school. I don't like that kind of flip flop. I get the idea. I understand the safety measurements they're trying to take care of. But I don't know. I think that's exhausting. To go back and forth, to flip back and forth like that. Now,
It is.
creating that back and forth. No, I want to go back to um our topic. We kind of deviated away from that. Didn't want to complain too much about school or anything like that, or me sounding like we're complaining about it. But so we're talking about the Great Resignation. The people quitting, and leaving their jobs. Are they doing it to? Is it because of money? Is it because they're not being valued, or is it like yeah, like they're not getting paid what they think? They had an epiphany basically. Are they like, "Oh, man, I'm doing so much, I'm not getting paid for what I'm worth."
Well, I think some of them also feel like they're doing extra because they're short staffed and they're pulling double duty, or they're literally working 16-hour days back to back, and they just don't feel valued like they did before when there was a normal amount of staff.
Well, hold on. Are you saying that is that before the pandemic though, or after the pandemic?
No, I think after the pandemic, everywhere is kind of short staffed. I mean, even if there are people that want to work there, there's going to be an equal amount or more that don't want to work. So you're not going to have that cushion of employees, even for the people who are the managers and anybody above that. You're not going to have the cushion of employees to give that luxury of having days off or having hours lessened to a normal 40-hour work week.
Well, again, because we're teachers. Coming from a teacher's perspective, though, even in our school last year, I mean, we weren't even understaffed. We were just understaffed because of substitute teachers. We weren't having enough substitute teachers to cover us, right?
Right.
Like, I mean, but even in that situation, though, is it because I'm not being a sub because I know my value, or am I not being a sub because even before the pandemic, even then, where people were trying to be, or when people were taking positions of substitute teachers or teachers, I'm asking you, like, was that in their mind? Like, oh, I'm not going to be a substitute teacher because it's I'm not being valued.
Well, I think teaching as a general profession is kind of hard to compare staff shortages too, because I mean, lately the teachers haven't been as appreciated, or they've been underappreciated, compared to when the pandemic actually happened. We were teaching completely virtual, and then
So
hybrid
okay,
happened,
so
and we
okay,
kind
okay,
of just
wait,
got
well, hold on.
devalued
Okay,
from
so hold
there.
on then. If you're saying that right now teachers are not being appreciated and we're being underappreciated, then where does that responsibility fall under then? Does that fall under the administration that we should be appreciated more than by admin? Are you saying that we should receive, you know, not a teacher of the year, a teacher of the month, but more of a, hey, here's a bonus check, or hey, we're gonna give you a raise. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where does that fall then? If we're in need of teachers, and the parents are more against the idea of teachers, you know, for whatever reason. I still don't understand that part, that kind of perspective. Does that responsibility fall under the administration then?
I think it depends on where you are. Some people feel like admin doesn't. I'm not talking about our school in particular.
No,
I'm
that's
just
about our
saying
school. No,
as a
no,
whole.
exactly.
Some people feel like their administration doesn't have their back. Some people feel like admin has really lost touch with the classroom and being a teacher. And then other people feel like their admin has been superhumans in being there for them and coming into the classroom and giving them what they need and all of that support. So I think it really depends on where you are and also your perspective as a teacher, because you could have one teacher who's getting the same exact support from admin as another in the same exact school, but they have different viewpoints based on what workload they're given at the same time too. So there's obviously a lot of factors that go into that, but I think that the overall issue right now is that we as teachers don't necessarily feel valued, especially in this pandemic, because of
So
whatever your viewpoint is on
right.
vaccines
So
and whatever,
but
it doesn't matter. I mean, we just don't feel valued in the pandemic itself because of all of the stuff that's put on our shoulders.
so as I'm saying, the value then, the value, who's responsible to make us feel valued? You see what I'm saying? Is it the stat, if the administration is gonna make us feel more valued?
But if admin's working their butt off already, I mean, how much more could they do?
Right, exactly. So in this, and so that's, I mean, and this is what this guy's coined term, or the term that's been coined in our society now, the great, um, whatever I just said, the great resignation. So now teachers are quitting, they're leaving. I mean, we read articles. I mean, I read articles that are talking about, I quit my teaching career 6 years. Was it 6 years I've been in the field, and now I'm making um whatever. I'm making more money at home doing this and this and this, or I've had a better job doing something else. You know, so
I
is it
think
the
that that
but
also has to deal with the pay rate.
so wait, but hold on. Then there I come back to that argument. Is that the school's responsibility then?
Well, if you're district, I mean, it can't fall on the school itself. It has
If
to
you are
fall on the
district, you're
district.
right. If it's a district, if it is district, then it's kind of difficult to put on administration. So we need to put that blame on district,
Or government.
or the city, the government itself, which is unfortunate, but that's who we're facing, and if we're looking at a charter or private school or whatever, then we're obviously looking at corporate, the company, the business,
Right.
so like, how is your, like, let's move on a little bit now. Like, how is your parents or your family dealing with this? Are they quitting? Are they retired? Like, what's going on?
My parents specifically?
Yeah.
Maybe that was a question for the audience. Well, my dad is deciding to retire, but that's kind of it's not really a pandemic issue, it's more of a health issue in general that he's always kind of had behind the scenes even pre-pandemic.
What do you think that's also like influenced it by the pandemic though?
I think it might be a little bit because I mean, not everybody's feeling 100% health wise, even with underlying conditions. A lot of people are feeling like it could attack them more so now that they have underlying conditions, and that's taking them out of work because they're afraid of, well, worst case scenario, dying. And then other people, I think, are feeling like they just don't want to risk bringing home something to their kids or spreading it to their family members. So I think retirement or quitting in general, going back kind of to that original point, not specifically with my family, is just, it's kind of been on a lot of people's minds of not wanting to get COVID or even be asymptomatic of it or just spread it in general to people that they know are at high risk of dying from it.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I know from your family side that I've heard, like even my family has it. We're not COVID or anything, but like home businesses. We like I know, and I've read a lot that people have now done are starting home business. Like how's your brother, right? Like your brother's doing a home business, is he not?
Yes, he has a martial arts school, which he had that
Still?
for a few years. I mean, now it's kind of revamped after his little break right there that he had. But I mean, he's always had that idea of having a martial arts school, so he's had it for 20-25 years now at least. And I mean, it's kind of blossomed also because people feel like they're being attacked physically, which is kind of, good in his favor, I guess.
So do you think he's in the category of the Great Resignation?
I don't think so. I mean, his personal life also has separate factors that most people wouldn't find themselves having at the same time either, which kind of pushed him to do better. But eh, eh, I would say that he probably is on the other end of the spectrum where he wants to push himself to be with people. He's always been a very personable, wanting to be around people, making lots of friends from all different places. type of person. So I think that also plays into that factor of his role as a sole proprietor in a business.
Cool, cool. Actually, right at this time, we're gonna take a quick break. So once we have to make our quick message, we'll come back and we'll finish up this conversation about the Great Resignation. Hey guys, are you looking for a custom sticker or a custom shirt? Well, if you haven't already, check out Kristen's website at,
Pandasloot.com. That's PANDASLOOT.com.
and there you can find some custom stickers, shirts, and if you're also interested of the more a little more bit personal, you
You
can message her at.
can find me at Doodles by K10 on both Facebook and Instagram.
Throw a quick image, give us an idea, do a quick shout out. She'll design it. You like it, you approve it. Bam. What happens, Kristen?
I get to make it, put it into the Cricut. It's a really fun process. I love being able to do it. I love being able to share it with you, and you'll get it in the mail.
Where do we just see some of the process?
Definitely, I'm on TikTok as well. I do reels on Instagram. I share my photos on Facebook. They're all over the place.
So again, guys, you're interested in some custom stuff, check out Doodles by K10 at panasloot.com. Alright guys, welcome back. So we're still talking about the Great Resignation. Um and we're just talking about Kristen's brother, who what was his business again?
Martial
A
arts.
martial arts school, that's right. Now, I mean, that's actually pretty interesting because there's a lot of martial arts schools that are slowly opening after the pandemic, and being with the whole 6 feet apart, that's pretty cool to see it now reopen. I mean, I remember they were on Zoom.
Right, they were doing classes over Zoom, which doesn't really work out too well because you kind of have to have an instructor there who can actually um show you in person and be able to move you around into the correct positions. That sounds really bad, but you know what I mean.
No, I get it, I get it. No, it's true though. Martial arts, it's an art form. You have to make the right posture, the positioning. It is important. The technique is very important. Otherwise, you can either hurt yourself or you can hurt. I mean, hurt others worse. I mean, I hope that's not your goal, but it should be an act of self-defense. But like I said, the idea of great resignation is, a time where people just don't feel like they're being valued. You know, so are we? Can we use this time then to say that we're putting our happiness first before something like, I don't know, like our not work ethic, our needs to survive?
I think some people can feel that way. I mean, they're not working. I mean, some of them lost their jobs during the heat of the pandemic, when they never got a chance to go
Yeah,
back, and
yeah.
they're able to put their full mindset into something that they've been wanting to do that they've never had time to do. A lot of people are opening their own businesses for arts and crafts. A lot of people are starting their own businesses for like cleaning and stuff like that. So
Do you? Hold on, I'm sorry, but by doing that though, do you think they saturate the market?
I think they do. There wasn't a lot of people doing X, Y, and Z before, and now there's potentially hundreds of businesses that are doing X, Y, and Z now.
Because I remember when we were interested in doing like gaming, and I did. I told my brother, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go. I can't even get into it because it's just so saturated by so many people, that are home now because of the pandemic. And he told me, he's like, it doesn't matter if it's saturated or not. You just need something to put you out there, you know. But I mean, do you think even then that we had a chance? Even if we put ourselves out there, do you think we had a chance?
I almost feel like there isn't anything brand new anymore. You know, to a certain extent. There's plenty of people who play Call of Duty. Battlefield is coming out, but all the people who are playing Call of Duty are going to go to Battlefield. And same thing that goes with arts and crafts and food and all of that stuff. People are already making cupcakes, cakes, biscuits, all of that stuff. there's not a lot of room for you to come out and say, I have something in this market that's brand new that no one's ever done before or very few have done before. And that's my niche. That is what sets me apart. There really isn't much that people could do to personalize themselves anymore.
So are you saying then you're saying you agree with me? Like the market is saturated. Like anything that we do now is just overfilled and overpopulated by so much. And let's be real here. Some of them are just spam.
They are.
I mean, but there's some that are really smart, douches, where they buy the product and sell it for double. You know what I mean? Which is a little unfortunate. But again, you know, do you agree or disagree with me here? The market it's a bit saturated. I mean, right now we're doing a podcast. I mean, like all those YouTube stars that we once watched, when they realized they couldn't film creatively anymore, even us, we couldn't vlog anymore. Where do we ended up doing?
I ended up going back to a real job.
That's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, we ended up going to a real job. I don't regret it. I love it. I bless, the fact that we still have our careers. I mean, so many people are being laid off left and right just to accommodate. I mean, stores were closing left and right.
Right, there were some that closed pre or during pandemic rather and just never opened up again and they're out of business.
So what do you think about those guys? What do you think they just kind of up and left? And
I mean, I think a lot of them were mom and pop shops as well and they just didn't have the funding because they weren't making money and they couldn't keep up with anything after things started opening up. They had no money to put back into their stores because they weren't making anything during their time off.
yeah, it's unfortunate. It is really unfortunate to see some of those things like that. It is an unfortunate thing. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. This is our first episode. I hope it was somewhat uh good.
Interesting.
Interesting. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. This is again What About. I'm your host, Richard.
And Kristen.
And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And we'll hope to hear you guys again another time. Bye.
Bye.